Hey everybody, it's Missy here, or Melissa, doesn't matter. I'm going to be presenting Pablo Neruda to you guys today, and I'm going to follow the trend of reading my letter first, and then we're going to go into one of his, I'm going to recite one of his Spanish original texts, and then we'll look at the translations. So here we go. Mr. Neruda, as you are aware, in your lifetime, your work has traveled the world over, translated into innumerable languages, and read by people of all walks of life. I, however, was not amongst those exposed to your great body of work until recently. I first heard your name by way of Ginsberg many years ago, but never had the opportunity to indulge myself in your work. To attempt to understand the breadth of your poetry without experiencing it in its native language would be a disservice. But I have never been particularly comfortable with my understanding of the native tongue. Recently, I had the opportunity to venture to my homeland of Guatemala, the cascading mountain sides of which you are familiar from your employ as Chilean consul. During my time there, I felt the immutable calling of Mother Earth welcome me home. How is it that my fruit allergies sit dormant when enjoyed amidst the chippy-chippy-soaked cloud forest, when they stem from the same chiquita groves as the fruit back home? There's a mysticism in the connection we have with our heredity and the earth from which we rise, a phenomenon with which I believe you are supremely cognizant. Your adolescent work stemmed from the singular experience, a reflection of passionate youth and the affair one has with foreign terrain of the earth and flesh. Somewhere in the depth of the internet exists the melancholy of my early work available for consumption. They are not comparable to the pages of your 20 poems de amor, recited by school children and lovers many times over in the centuries since their publication. Even in your youth, you had such a large sense of self, an ability to create sweeping, grandiose statements with such simplicity of phrasing. You can make even the most minuscule, tawdry experience a profound moment of beauty. In my early writing, I had the misunderstanding that the complexity of language reflected a mastery of the written word. It wasn't until years later that I discovered the malleability of expression. The common language, when used correctly and with purpose, could be far more evocative than flowery imagery. Sometimes, in an attempt to describe a feeling or an experience, we lose the simplicity and purity of the event itself. There is a beauty in truth that can only be told without embellishment. Though 20 poemas may have brought you fame, and Residencia de la Tierra solidified your place in the literary world, I cannot but feel the earnest reflections in Canto General as the embodiment of the richness of your work. It is a reflection of the history of the American experience, what it means to stem from the earth, and the relationships we have had with one another in the legacy of Southern and Latin American development. I know that Canto was written amidst the upheaval that took root upon your return to Chile. Most of the text was written while in hiding. It would be easy to create reactionary work condemning the state in which your country has fallen, to argue against political regimes with which you felt a moral opposition, but your words have always been more tactful. You are the poet of the people, speaking for them as one of them. You need not attack political opposition with political rhetoric, but the experience of the land. In Canto, you begin with songs of the vegetation, the birds, the rivers, and minerals. You establish a rapport with the elements of the environment before the introduction of man. You do not combat injustice with criticism, but reality. I think you said it best when reflecting on the growth of your work with age. The young writer cannot write without the shudder of loneliness, even when it is only imaginary, any more than the mature writer will be able to produce anything without a flavor of human companionship, of society. In a time of uncertainty and the threat of fascism, I imagine you would have much to say about the ominous cloud about to swallow the great beast of the American landscape. It would be difficult not to. In my work, I strive to give voice to the underrepresented. Our people may populate these lands, we may color the terrain with the huipil of our forefathers, but fall short in representation in so many ways. My own countrymen have come to condemn our cohabitation as a threat. Our people, immigrants on our own land, tread lightly on molten temperaments. How can one bear witness in dormancy and not expel the madness within onto the canvas and pen? How can I concentrate on anything and shut the door to the street, to love, to life, joy and madness in my young poet's heart. I have not fancied myself a political writer. I have always been more attuned with the sociology of our realm than the governance. I've struggled for some time with the relevance of my artistry, that my words exist in a superfluous ether, ineffective and trivial. The arts are a boundless and resplendent means of conversing with the people so long as they are met with an audience. I have not reached a point in which I feel my work is ready for public display, and in this creative limbo I have often wondered if my time would be better served as a servant of the people more directly. But seeing your work as consul and senate, I am inspired to find a means of marrying the two. Perhaps I am destined for more than the transient poverty of the artist to which I have grown accustomed. During my time in Guatemala, I wrote endlessly of the disconnect amongst our people, the separation of self from heritage, from those of economic prowess and the impoverished indigenous populace, the volcanic treachery and splendor of the earth beneath now drowning in discarded refuse. I know that your roots are in the treacherous terrain of the Chilean landscape, but if, as you have included the plight of the Guatemalan people in your great canto, I include your words as a reflection of all our people, I believe our struggle is as one. I want to write plays with as vast a landscape as your poetry, to meet every man's road, the people whose sword, whose handkerchief, my humble poetry wants to be, to dry the sweat of its vast sorrows and give it a weapon in its struggle for bread, as you have done. You speak of the Spanish War as a time of endless virility for the intellect through the poet. I suspect in the coming years we will see a rebirth of poetry as an act of peace. I hope that my compatriots do not face the persecution and demise that too many of your friends met during your lifetime. I too have found great pleasure in the words of Lorca and intend to delve deeper in the work of those with whom you spend your days. I have amassed a list of the contemporaries within the pages of your memoirs to begin my journey into the artistry of our people and the parallel struggle of our European brethren. Thank you.